Yeah. So like 10th grade, like what other classes? Well, I had another class. I had a geometry class, and that may have been in 10th grade. And I got a B in that. And I really liked geometry. I really liked geometry class because it was like you get to draw shit, and it was just interesting. So I had fun doing that. I remember though we went in to do a test, and I took out this like handkerchief that my mom had like dipped all these essential oils in, because my mom was like, when you study for the test, make sure you smell the handkerchief with like, you know, patchouli in it, so that so that when you take the test, take out the handkerchief and smell the handkerchief with patchouli, and it'll help you remember what you were thinking about when you were studying for the test, and you'll do better for the test. So I go to the test, and I take my handkerchief out, and immediately everybody in the class is like, whoa, what the hell is that? What the fuck? And this kid behind me, this like smart ass like kid who like talked all the time, is like, what the fuck is that, man? And so like I balled it up and I threw it at him, and I'm like, smell it yourself. And he's like, I don't want to, get this off of me. And he throws it back, and I was like, okay, sorry. I think the teacher was like, yeah, dude, put that away. Everybody can smell it. But yeah. But anyways, what other class did I have? Oh, we had history class, which I fucking loved. I love history class. I love science class. I love anything where they ask you to write something, which I never had in my entire life. I was never asked to write anything in my entire life, except until my very last class in college. But I got a D- in that class, got me kicked out of the program, even though it was a fucking masterpiece. But that was before they invented computers, so I do have it, but it's totally just corrupted, and I have to fix it. But anyways, history class was some dude. He was a pretty good history teacher, but he was like really serious. And like once we were watching a movie, and I guess kids were sleeping or something in the movie, because next thing I know, he slams the book on the table as hard as he can. He's like, God damn it, don't be falling asleep on the movie. But I did a presentation, so that was cool that I got to do a presentation. You know, if I got to do a presentation, I got excited as fuck. Because I'm a ham. I love attention and giving presentations to people, but I'm not an interrupter. I'm not the kind of guy who will just talk, you know, about bullshit that has nothing to do with the class and stuff. So because of that, I didn't talk, because you're never allowed to give presentations. But anyways, I do a presentation about Shinto religion and incense and the preparation of incense. But yeah, that's all I remember of that class. And but yeah, it was fun listening to history, because we were going. It was the first time we actually had history. We were never told any of that shit when we should have been told it before. I don't know what we were doing in junior high and in grade school. I guess we were just doing arts and crafts bullshit and learning about stalactites and stalagmites. But it was the first time where we actually were hearing the history of the world, like, you know, oh, in the beginning, it was exciting for me. I loved it. Oh, in the beginning, 3,500 is when the Sumerians civilization, and we found the cuneiform tablets, and I was like, wow, awesome. But I remember there was some of the kids in that class were fucking characters. Like there was this like really skinny, like short, skinny rocker dude who had like really long hair. He was like straight from the 70s stoner era. And he's like, yeah, man. He like talked all the time with this other girl, this blonde girl who he sat next to all the time, who was like another like kind of rocker girl or whatever. And they're always talking, dude, like in class. And he's like, yeah, man, like, you know, I did this, and then like, yeah, man, I was like doing that. And she's like, oh yeah, really, go on. And then, anyway, she's like, do you have a girlfriend? He's like, no, man, girls fuck me over. She's like, I wouldn't fuck you over. But like one day, there's this kid named Chris Stuckenschneider, and he looked to me, and I think he's my brother's friend actually, because I saw him a few years ago, but he looked to me exactly like that kid from Mad Magazine, the cover of Mad Magazine. And he just looked like a really weird dude. He was just like skinny dude, and he's like walk around like all spaced out looking, like maybe he was stoned. Through the hallway, like like, I don't know what his deal was. Like, would he just like sneak out of his class and like walk through the hallways all by himself? But he'd like walk through the hallways and then he'd go into our class and he's like hanging out with that rocker dude with the long hair. And they're like hanging out and talking to each other. And the teacher's like, wait, who the hell are you? Get the hell out of my classroom. Go back to your original classroom, man. He's like, what? Oh. But I remember seeing him walking around in the hallways. I don't know. It was just weird, man. It was funny, but the shit that you remember. Oh, yeah, and then Terrence Lapatowski, dude. He was in my history class. And he, like, snuck out of the class once, out of the window. And the teacher comes back after going to the bathroom. And he's like, wait, somebody's not here. Because he saw that the desk was empty. And he's like, who left? And nobody wanted to say anything. So he's like, all right, well, if nobody's going to say anything, I'm going to do roll call. So he did roll call again, and he busted the kid that way. But I think that was him. But anyways, what else? What other classes do I remember from 10th grade? That's all I remember, man, even though I know there were more. That's kind of scary. But it was a long time ago, so. And then 11th grade. 11th grade is when I started wearing glasses. Maybe I had bag eyes before that, but that's when I started wearing glasses. And I had this one class. It was some kind of like psychology class. And I was in the corner. And there was some kid named Ari Walker who talked all the time. He was in the grade above me. He was like school president. And he was just like kind of a nerdy looking like Jewish kid with like curly hair. And he'd just be like blah, 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 blah. He just like loved to talk. And I don't know if it had anything to do with about the class. Every time I remember kids talking and talking and talking in class, it had nothing to do with what the subject of the class was. They were just talking about something else. And the teacher would just let them do that. Because it was like, I don't know, they were entertaining the teacher and the whole class, so they let them do it. Yeah. But they had us do some artwork where we were supposed to express our feelings. And I wrote something really disturbing. I was like, I drew this like poster of this like guy climbing like inside of this like egg, this like geode with like spikes inside, like trying to get outside and like with blood and monsters below him and trying to get out of the hole to the outside world and like freaking out. And I think I scared the teacher. The teacher, when she gave it back to me, all she said was, well, at least you're honest. So yeah. Yeah, I didn't really like school. School wasn't something that sucked my energy out for me, man. Big time. It sucked me dry. By the time I came home, I had nothing left. But what other class do I remember? It's hard to remember those days because it was like I went into comatose state. I went into like a trance. But I know I had more classes. Oh, the last math class I ever had was algebra in 11th grade. And there was this dude named Mr. Danter. And he was the husband of my math teacher from 7th grade, whose name was Mrs. Danter. Who were these little people. She was a little lady and he was a little guy. And he was really animated. Like he thought he could be a better teacher, I guess, by dancing around. He'd be like, and then the next number goes here. And he'd be like jumping around and doing this. And it didn't help me, dude. Because all I remember is him going, la, 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 and then trying to stay awake, and then the thing would come. And I managed to pass that class because when you do the homework, you have to do the whole steps. So I would just write out the steps before when I first got the homework. I just copy the steps, and then I just fill them in with the answers, which were at the back of the book. So I never even did the homework. I just would draw out the thing really fast, and that was that. And then when the test would come, I'd get like an F-. But because I did all the homework, it would even it out, so I'd end up getting like a D- in the class. And I'd get to pass the class and graduate high school. But I didn't learn shit. I didn't learn anything. And I had no fucking desire to, and nor will I ever have desire to learn that bullshit. But yeah, I remember one time I think I tried to concentrate on it too hard and it got me sick because yeah, man, I came into class and I felt really good. But then the class happened. And then like we all stood up because that's what happened. I remember that class. We'd all stand up and we just wait for the bell to ring. And then once the bell rang, you could leave. And I remember like feeling like all the water start to work up in my throat and like saliva starting to pour out of my mouth out of my cheeks into my mouth. I was about to puke. So I started like walking and like making circles and doing like this and just kind of like moving around, just trying to like hold it in because I didn't want to puke right there in class. It would have been really embarrassing. So then the bell rang and I like fucking beelined it. I ran down to the showers and there was some kid taking a dump. So I like ran into the showers and I just barfed my brains out in the shower and then ran out before anybody noticed. And yeah, and I remember telling myself that I was sick because of the class. I got sick because because the class was so boring. I don't know if it was like that. Maybe it was just food poisoning, but that's what I was convinced of at the time. But yeah, what other class did I have in 11th grade? I had my God, that's all I remember. I literally do not remember anything else from high school. I can't tell stories of hanging out with friends because I didn't have any friends except for Mike and Andy. But I didn't even hang out with them. I only hung out with them at lunch. Andy was a bike racer, but I never rode with him. I only rode by myself when I rode. So, and I don't have any more tales of classes because I literally don't remember any classes. At lunch, I didn't hang out in class in the lunch area. Okay, so I guess I'll just have to go to 12th grade. 12th grade was a lot more eventful because at 12th grade, I had finished growing taller, and my friends, Mike and Andy, had been on the high school cross-country team ever since 7th grade, or ever since 10th grade. Well, and so they talked me into joining the cross-country team. And I even started running in summertime with Mike. And he's like, yeah, come on, man, you're going to make varsity. You can do it, you know. And he'd be like totally kicking my ass. And I'd be like trying to keep up with him on the hills, you know. Because he was fast. I mean, he was on varsity in 10th grade. He was skinny. He was like 155 pounds. He still weighs 155 pounds. And, you know, I think his PR for the 5K in high school, in 12th grade, I don't know what it was in 10th or 11th, but in 12th grade it was 16:43. And so he was pretty good. But, yeah, so I joined it. And so, you know, it was a pretty big team too. A whole bunch of kids turned out. And so then I knew the kids from that class. And so then like I actually knew people in school, like in girls and stuff. So, yeah. Now, I raced the first race. I got 8th place, which is pretty good. I think I got an 18:10 on my first race in the 5K. And then I was steadily getting better. But Mike was steadily getting worse because he had this philosophy that if he didn't eat, he would lose weight and get faster, but it ended up sucking his energy, so he got slower. So I ended up becoming faster than him. But I think my PR actually was a 17:07. That's the fastest 5K I ever raced. And that was on kind of a hilly course in Denver, you know, running up and over like hills and like on a park and stuff. And I think I got a 17:37 in the other race, which was a really hilly course. But so I never got to break into 16, which was kind of a bummer. And I know I could have if I had have shown up on a flat race. I think states may have been pretty flat, and I don't remember what my time was there, but I don't think it was in a 16 because I blew up. I made the states team, the state championship team, and I was in 8th place in states for the big high schools, the 6A. And the coach predicted I'd get top 10, and I was 8th and 9th with Jorge, the Mexican. He was on the Mexican junior national soccer team. But then all of a sudden, and I felt great, but all of a sudden my like arms, my biceps stopped being able to hold my forearms up, and I had to start running with my arms all the way down. And so everybody started passing me like I was standing still, and I ended up in 29th place. Oh shit, I'm out of time.